The Match Ball.
Well, hello and welcome to the show. It's brought to you in association with Levi Solicitors, who will do you a 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball for the whole range of services, which you can find on the website, levisolicitors.co.uk/square ball. Do you want to do anything on it, Michael? You're not in the mood?
I'm not really in the mood.
There was a lot of frustration coming out of Ellen Road tonight. It was quite flat, understandably so, given that it was 0-0, given that Leicester lost at Millwall.
Good news.
So, I was going to say, while it does feel like there has to be a little bit of bloodletting here to reflect the mood, I think we can also find reasons not to be cheerful, but to be optimistic and just acknowledge that whilst it's a chance missed, it's a chance that, rolls forward another week. Are you looking for a pen there, Moscow? You look baffled.
Looking for a knife.
Oh, okay.
Do you want a pen?
Michael, no, if we're letting blood.
Oh, I see.
I think you're the bloodiest.
There's a pin there. There's a little safety pin. That'll do.
Do you ever do the Blood Brothers thing at
Let's
school?
Let's not start now.
I feel like we need to be very sombre and serious now because we dropped points.
There was a weird...
Still stab Michael with a pin,
bit.
somberly.
I made a note around 87 minutes, deathly silence, when it felt like everyone knew it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And it was just, there's almost like a resignation. There was a bit in the second half where the atmosphere picked up and it was like, we're going to drive this team on and then it was just like, no, it's not happening.
Couldn't be bothered.
Nothing's going to happen here, actually.
Obvious question then, but what is the answer? Is it as simple as X, Y, and Z? I don't know. Why didn't we win tonight? Apart from obviously not scoring, which doesn't help matters, does it?
They're scared. Maybe.
I genuinely think they are.
I think
there's a lot of young men.
There is
an
element of that
are under pressure
because it seems like we're too ponderous at the wrong times, and we rush things at the wrong times as well, and it leads to us. We'll pass it around the back for ages, looking for something to do. And I can just see Dan jumping around pressing buttons.
Just turning up the blue light blue. It turned off blue. It's had enough as well.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But then, having got bored of passing it around for 30 seconds, we then try a pass that's never going to get to anyone, and we lose possession. And it just feels like there's not anyone pulling strings in there. It's just Ampadu to Rodon to Meslier to Rodon to Ampadu to Firpo to Rodon. It feels like there's that recycling going on an awful lot.
Do you agree, Moscow is starting to see perhaps the downside to Farke's approach to football just a little bit because it's conservative and we don't do those risky passes. We just keep trying to work it and pull the other team out of position, that it's made us become too risk averse. We
do risky passes. We're just quite bad at them. Ampadu loves the risky pass into Bamford when he's got three people marking him, and Rodon loves a risky pass out to Dan James that doesn't get there, and then he's chasing back, and Ampadu has to come over and stop Sunderland from scoring. So it's bad decisions rather than being risk averse, really. But they're not helped, I don't think, by the lack of movement up front, and whether that comes from Farke or whether it's the players. It was a feature of once we'd gone, I think we had 5 in attack in stoppage time, and Ampadu had the ball at his feet and he gave it back to Meslier because he was just saying to all the people ahead of him.
There were no options, yeah. You could see the frustration because the crowd got on his back, didn't it?
Yes. And
is the crowd right to get on the backs of the players and express their frustration in that way? Is it a natural response, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. We don't really... I was thinking during it that we don't tend to do much to get the crowd going and behind us, and it's kind of right at the second half that seemed to be began with a decision made to be louder, but there's only so much you can do when there isn't much excitement on the pitch.
You're right. It did feel like there was a little bit of a reset because there was a little bit of booing, wasn't there, going into half time? And I don't know if that was frustration at the referee or it was the lack of positive passing. Because I think Archie Gray had a chance to perhaps go forward and he opted to go back, didn't he? Just before half time, there was just a little ripple of boos at half time, but then it felt like they came out second half. There was kind of, okay, we'll get behind you again, lads, and try and push you on. And like you say, it kind of grew as we grew into that game, but also fell away.
There were bits of crowd frustration spilling through as well. There was a time when we'd not been passed. It seemed we were almost refusing to pass to the right hand side, and then we did eventually pass it to James. And when that happened, there was a "whee," and it was like, I sort of feel sorry for the players in a way that it's happening because I'm sure they're playing the way that they have practiced, and that Somerville is probably our most dangerous creative player. So getting it to him a lot makes a lot of sense in some ways. But it's when it becomes predictable, isn't it? It's just like when Rutter is so unwilling to make an early pass. It allows players to swarm around him easier because they go, well, he's not going to pass it quickly, So if we just get 3 players around him, there's a chance we'll get the ball off him. And in some way, even the unpredictable bits are becoming a bit predictable.
Archie Gray does spend a lot of his time standing like Michael Jackson out on the right wing with his arms outstretched as if he's singing Earth Song and nobody is passing the ball to him. And it was quite interesting that once even Joe Rodon didn't make that pass, even after Ilya Gruev had given him the ball and was like, give it to him. I just turned away. I was like, no, I'm giving it to Ampadu and we'll go to Firpo. But then when Connor Roberts came on, suddenly it's like, oh, Welsh friend, you can have the ball. So I wondered as well, because there was a moment towards the end of the first half when Rodon ended up at right back. We got mixed up and he was up against Jack Clark, and Jack Clark was like, this is great. Skinned him, and then Rodon was having a go at Archie Gray for not being there to deal with Clark. And I wonder if Rodon is like a little bit not sure about this 17-year-old that he has to cover.
He's 18 now.
This 18-year-old that he has to cover, because if he goes bombing up the pitch with the ball and then it comes back, well, he's got back spasms. He was limping at the end, feeling his thigh. So he's not quite sure if it's going to be a wise defensive move. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. But maybe it is just get it to Somerville faster. But I do feel sorry for James and Gray.
Did you see that in the second half? Do you think that we tried to move the ball a bit faster and that's what got the crowd going?
No. I
thought we picked up a bit.
I didn't think we particularly did. I felt like we threw more attacking players on, but I don't feel like there was any penetration there still. It was still the same side to side, out to Somerville, cuts in, Firpo overlaps sometimes, pass it back to Somerville. It's just that over and over and over.
Can I ask you a question, Moscow? It's Emma, who's in the comments. We're live on YouTube for our TSB Plus members. Hello. Emma's asking, is Farke ball, has it always been this slow?
Going back to Norwich, maybe. It's never been particularly like thriller minute stuff. But usually maybe when the pressure has been less, it's been a more relaxed atmosphere. And there's a feeling, I mean, you can't look at us being second in the table, having won, is it 26 games now, which was his target at the start of the season, that it hasn't worked. And I think that's the thing, is that the patient approach, not going hell for leather, not getting caught at the back. I think are we still the best defence in the league? We're up there in the top 2 or 3, if not. All that's worked. I think the problem is that now it's must win. And there's an argument that maybe if we'd stayed patient to the 93rd minute of the referee's incredibly generous stoppage time, we would have been able to score. But with all the pressure on, it ends up with 7 players in attack, everybody howling and screaming, and it gets desperate, and then it doesn't work.
I do wonder about the shape of the teams that we're coming up against, because Sunderland did that thing of pack in the middle, didn't they? Again, which invites us to do something else other than try and do little exchanged passes on the edge of the box, because you could see him sort of looking for it. And as you were saying before about the balls that like Ampadu was dropping into Bamford, and I thought that was something actually, just to take a little left turn at the minute. Like the number 5 for Sunderland was booked in that first half for clattering through the back of Bamford.
Should have been sent off
a couple of times. And we started to then drop the ball into Bamford's feet. And as the game went on progressively, more and more, the number 5 was standing off because he knew that he couldn't get away with another one. And I wondered if maybe we shouldn't have tried to exploit that a little bit more.
I think we should have really tried to upset him, because he was a proper donkey. And he was very lucky not to be sent off, because he'd already been booked. And there was one where Bamford had got the run on him, and he just basically stood in front of him and held him. And then Bamford had a bit of a kickback, and the ref ended up having a bit of a chat to both of them. And I think if he's not already booked him, he probably ends up booking both of them for that, because they both had a bit of a go at each other. But as it was, he couldn't do that because he'd involved sending one of them off. So he's kind of going, oh, just don't do it anymore. And as we saw in the second half, he's really good at booking people, that ref, as well. When he quite rightly booked Glenn Kamara, who was about 20 metres away from Junior Firpo's tackle.
Right.
And then did he correct it in the end?
I don't know. I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, Firpo it was that foul on the edge of the box, which I'm not 100% sure if there's any contact. Firpo was adamant there wasn't. If there was any, it clipped his heel, but the player went down. But then the ref came over and booked Glenn Kamara for it.
Yeah, I was confused by that. I don't know if Kamara had said something to him or whether it was mistaken identity or what. I don't know.
He was looking around though as the ref in a way that made me think.
I don't know who did that.
He wasn't sure who had done it, because he didn't seem to. I don't know. He had a confusion about him that made me think he'd just gone, oh, him?
You.
Probably. I don't know. Not sure. So that wasn't great.
We do have the best defence, by the way, Moscow. Yes, we've conceded 33.
And you did mention it there, the 3 minutes added on. I mean, fucking hell.
Yeah. Well, it's 30 seconds per sub, isn't it? That's the guidance.
What about the rest?
No. This is what I'm leading up to.
Okay.
It's 30 seconds per sub. So I don't know how many subs were made in that game.
There were 4 breaks for subs in that second half. There were 5 yellow cards and 4 separate substitution breaks. And their goalkeeper did not once kick the ball without the ref going,
Yeah,
you may take a goal kick now.
I went full Normanton and timed him for one of those. I think it was the one in injury time. It took him a minute.
The ball was not in play in injury time. And then he added on, he did add on a minute, but...
I think the other side to this, and we'll get onto the penalty and the handball, because that's ridiculous, by the way, in a second or two. The other side to this is that I don't think we can use the lack of injury time as an excuse. Well, we might have done eventually, but I mean, it goes back to another point I made this week, which is like, should we have made subs earlier to try and turn the game earlier? But if you're chasing your tail, aren't you, when you get into injury time and they've got a back 5 or 6 with 3 in front of them? It's effectively a back 8.
I was not at the lack of injury time because he was wrong and he'd failed to book their keeper. But when we've not had a shot on target, did we have a shot on target in that game?
We had one, didn't we?
I can't remember one. I don't think if it wasn't a particularly difficult one. I don't think. Oh, actually, there was Nonto one that was deflected. Oh, it was deflected over, wasn't it?
Yeah,
wasn't even saved. But yeah,
I've got the stats here. I'll have a look. Hang on.
If we fail to, have a shot on target in 90 minutes,
12 shots, 1 on target, XG of 0.56.
Yeah, I mean, and they can't have had what's their XG? Like
6 shots, 3 on target, XG of 0.2. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it did feel like a game of basically no chances.
Yeah, which is what they were setting out to do. Which is the point I was making about the way that they were set up, and we saw it against Coventry at the weekend as well. When teams pack in on the edge of the D, we don't quite know what to do.
It's frustrating as well, just feeling like most of the second half of games is just waiting for people to take a goal kick. It's not much entertainment, is it?
No.
I feel like refs could probably do a little bit more on that front.
So can I ask you the other question then, which is a point Zach's making here in the comments, that Farke has moaned apparently that we should have had 3 minutes more added time, yet he didn't care about wasting 80 minutes without making subs while we look terrible. Again, one of the shortcomings perhaps of how Farke approaches the games, if you are to start picking holes in it, that he's not making changes sooner. Yeah,
I agree. I thought that it badly needed freshening up.
Yep.
And I mean, I know he made it clear he wasn't gonna, but I'd have been tempted to make some changes to the starting lineup as well.
Right.
Just Bamford's looked rubbish for a few games. He can still come on. He still come on if Joseph is playing badly. So I don't see why we're not having that as an option. It's weird. I think with Farke this year, every season, even under Bielsa, there was always a sub you wanted playing, and I feel like we've not had that very much this year. And all of a sudden, we've hit the point where everyone is like, Joseph should be playing instead of Bamford. And to be fair, it's normally someone instead of Bamford. It's normally Eddie Nketiah or...
I said that to my dad tonight, exactly that example.
Yeah, it's Eddie Nketiah, or it's Tyler Roberts for a time, or it's Joffrey, or it's... Who else has been there? John Kevin Augustin. Just play him. Just
Ryan
see what
Edmondson.
he's like. Ryan Edmondson. Yeah, that didn't last.
It did happen.
It did happen. But we've avoided that generally this year. But I think as we've seen, we've gone into this period where it's looked fairly stale. Just do something. Yeah, is what it feels like.
It's also come with Farke spending some of his press conferences talking about how they're not fit, they haven't trained, they're not well, they've got back spasms, they've got this injury, they can only do this number of minutes. And then you wonder, it's like, okay, well, if you're going to start with the same lineup, like, give them a break.
Yeah, what do you expect?
Yeah, don't keep playing them for 80, 90 minutes. Play them for an hour. And then the change, and I think the thing with Matteo Joseph in particular tonight is that he didn't get on the pitch until we'd gone. It was 4-1, 4-1 once Wilf Gnonto came on as the first sub, and then Joseph and Piru were introduced into that, where it became more of like a 3-0-8. Does that work? That's just about maths. 2-0-8.
Didn't Gnonto actually come on in midfield? Am I right in thinking that?
He just sort of buzzed around the place.
The way we set up, but it was the Gruffalo was the lone midfielder, and then it was Ruter and Gnonto behind Bamford with James and Somerville out wide, but like 2 10s basically zipping around. But it would have been nice. So Joseph then came on in the last 10 minutes when we're doing chaos football, and it would have been nice to maybe bring Joseph on first early and just give him 10 minutes of Bamford's job.
A normal shape of game.
Yeah.
Get up to the speed of the game.
Not even just get up to the speed of the game, just play a normal match.
Yeah.
Instead of it coming into this hell for leather, everything's desperate, we've got to get a goal or we're not going to get promoted. Everyone's angry that we can't find a way. Sunderland have gone into a back 10. Just bring him on early enough so that you can just have some time of just playing a bit of a normal football match and then build around him, because he'll end up, we can then build everything else around him with him already there.
He can start to figure out, I guess, which runs work and, how to run the defender, that kind of thing.
The defence was so deep by the time he came on, the chance of him finding any space in there was virtually none. And then he's on to essentially get a head or a foot on some sort of knockdown in the 6-yard box where it's from one of our absolutely shit corners that we seem to have loads of. And did we create any danger from anything? Well, there was the handball.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't recall us getting even close to a goal off any of them.
No.
I think once or twice it dropped
Couple
to the
of
edge
scrambles,
I was going to
maybe,
say once or twice it dropped to the edge of the box. And I think Ampadu dragged one and maybe Dan James did.
Yeah, Rutte tried a half volley. There was a bit more willingness for players to shoot. Don't like it. I think they should stop.
Well, in terms
Go
of
the other way.
pinging it off the end of your foot dead far and hard and stuff like that, Robert is just mentioning in the comments, our players do know we can pass the ball forwards instead of backwards, right? But it goes back to what we said before. Was it you, Moscow, I think, in one of the shows maybe we discussed this week about length of passes? Do you think they're under instructions maybe to pass the ball shorter and not take risks? I think it's definitely been discussed on one of the shows that we've had in the last week or two.
Do you remember anything like that?
No,
Just
I'm not normally listening, to be honest.
But it goes back to the style of play, is what I'm sort of getting at.
Yeah, I mean, we can pass forward, but the problem is when we look forward, all the players are marked by Sunderland players. There's nobody to pass to, so it's trying, and then occasionally Melia will leave the ball for Roden, and there was a good move when he ran into the middle, and then we create an overload, and then somebody should get into space because somebody's going to engage Roden. But it is basically, it's less. The problem is less that we are not trying to pass forwards. The problem is more that the players in forward positions are always marked, and we can't seem to find a way of getting them free and available to receive a pass. And then eventually, said before, we will try. Ampadu loves this kind of long, low. He's doing a lot of Coventry. This long, low pass through midfield straight into Bamford's feet with his back to goal. But you can see as soon as the ball leaves Ampadu's foot and it's got to travel about 50 yards on the floor, 2 or 3 of them will come in and Bamford can't do anything with that. So it's chicken and egg, but I think often the focus is on, it's easy to focus on the players with the ball at their feet and harder to see what's going on at the other end.
So there was definitely a spell where giving the ball to Rutte made stuff happen and he would beat someone and it would start dragging teams out of shape. So and then it would leave players free.
Unbalance the opponent, Michael.
It would unbalance the opponent. It feels like since he's dropped, we're just quite easy to play against. You're essentially relying on working it to Somerville and he does the little jink inside and cross-stroke shot.
All goes for the byline.
Wins a penalty, which he had another go at today, but it looked quite bad. It was at the far end though, so I couldn't really see. But there was one shot of his that went quite close, wasn't there? Where it was again Ballard, I think that. I thought he handballed it then as well. To be honest, he sort of leant in and armed it wide. It was certainly around the kind of sleeve line that it hit, but that was fairly close. Somerville was he our best player again going forward?
Most dangerous.
Some comments coming in now from the presser.
That's
again,
what I said.
I'm happy to
too early or too long or too slow
to take these as verbatim. Just to pick on that particular thing, playing passes too early. What does that mean?
I think
is it trying to force it?
I think that's Ampadu's passes is what he's probably talking about there, where he just tries to occasionally.
Who has said this?
Farke in the post-match is suggesting that the players were playing passes too early. And as Joel's just said, how much longer do they need to wait? I ain't got until 2032 for them to play.
Yeah, but I think it's poor decision. Well, is it poor decisions or is it a safety first approach? But I know it's easy in the crowd because you're obviously getting, for the most part anyway, people are getting a better view than the players on the pitch. But quite often it looks like there's an early ball on and we choose not to do it. And then you wait 30 seconds, then you end up playing a pass that's worse than the one you could have hit 30 seconds before that.
But what is that about, though? Is that about confidence or is it about decision-making or about lack of experience or nous or quality? What is it?
I don't know.
Is it all of those things?
But I think they should stop doing it.
And pressure. I don't know. Well, that's why we're here. Let's talk about it. Let's pull it apart. What do you see with your eyes?
If I had to speculate, I think it's a fear of giving the ball away.
Yeah.
But it ain't working because it just means we instead endlessly pass it around amongst ourselves, and then at some point someone thinks, well, fuck, we've got to go forward at some point. But at that point, they've got back in shape, everyone's marked, and they just whack it back to you, and then it recycles again, and you're in a position again where the defence is just passing it around between themselves.
Yeah, that is what we can see with our eyes, but the reason whether they're frightened or whether it's instructions is not visible. We would have to get inside their heads to be able to do that. So can't see that as easily.
Lee is saying that Farke's telling Gruev off at the end, so maybe he was guilty of trying to force the passes a little bit.
He was having a chat with him, but also Connor Roberts was having a good old chinwag with the Gruffalo at full time as well. And I noticed Liam Cooper stopped Wolf Nyonto. Wolf was just kind of in full skulk down the tunnel mode, and Cooper just went over. He was like basically grabbed him by, turned him around like, nope. You're not doing that. You're staying out here with the rest of us.
Say thank you for having me.
Yes.
Did you get back in the car?
No, you didn't like the orange squash because it's not the same as we have at home, but you're still going to say thank you for being allowed to play here.
Did you see Ampadu at the end? Because the crowd started, as you were saying about, everybody sort of realised about 87 minutes this ain't happening. People started drifting out at about that point. The gangways became very busy around me. And as a consequence, when the whistle went...
Your dad obviously beat the rush.
70 minutes. He went downstairs to watch it downstairs at 70 minutes. But obviously, I don't know at what point he exits the building. But I think that was the point at which they got that free kick when the whole Junior Firpo tackle, not tackle, mistaken identity thing happened. And he just said, oh, you can just see... my dad being the pessimist that he is, you can see this one just like sailing into the far corner. He says, I'm not staying here to watch this. If we go 1-0 down now, I'm off.
It was a reasonable save, wasn't it? But it was actually on target, wasn't it? When Somerville's shot hit the side netting, my phone reported a Leeds goal for a brief second. That was nice. I got a screenshot of it, so I'll just look at that this evening.
Why didn't they allow it then?
I know.
Selfish.
Ghost goal. I think it did go in and it went through a hole, and we should replay the game.
I wouldn't put it past Tim Robinson.
Should we talk about the handball then as well?
I haven't seen it yet. I need to find it.
It's been discussed in the post-match press conference. Farke has been saying, I think if this might have been Sky comments actually, we're getting letters of apology for poor decisions this season, and we're going to get another 2, but it makes no difference because it was an appalling decision. I showed you the clip, didn't I? As we got back here on Twitter, and the centre half has punched the ball. There's no two ways about it. It's a penalty. Again, I think it's important not to use that as the single excuse for the game not turning in our favour, but it's a huge moment in the match, and
we can use it as an excuse.
No, I mean,
I think we should have had a penalty.
Yeah, but the overall shape of the game wasn't good, is what I'm saying. We've got to caveat it by saying that. But when it comes down to moments like that, they are the moments that turn games and turn seasons as well.
We didn't play well, but we certainly didn't deserve to lose, and we could have nicked it with that. So
yeah, I was thinking about it because I obviously hadn't seen it yet, but I'd seen the Leeds United's tweet about it, and I wondered because that thing of like,
what have they tweeted, by the way? Can I ask?
It was just among the match updates. They describe what happened by pointing out that which player was this? Was it
09?
The beginning of a phone number had pulled Rodon's shirt, punched him and handballed it. I don't know if those were the exact words, but they basically did describe 1, 2, 3 what had happened. And I was thinking about that because people were saying, would we have deserved it anyway? Or we could have had the penalty, but would we have deserved it? And I think having looked at what happened, we deserve to have a penalty for that. And I think as far as I'm concerned, that's enough. Like, you deserve to have a penalty when you're...
when the rules are broken in such a fashion.
Where's the ref positioned on that?
He's the edge of the area, somewhere around the D. He's not directly in line with it in terms of like perpendicular. He's just across the way a little bit. There are probably bodies in between. My best guess is that he didn't see it, which is why he didn't even do that ref kind of the overblown no gesture with the crossed arms. No. I just think he didn't see it, which is why he just skulked off.
I can just see in the comments there as well. Lee Elms was saying, Kree's shot that went for a corner. This is what I was talking about. Went off Ballard's arm and he leant into it. I thought that was handball and I'm kind of right behind that shot. And I thought he leans across and it comes off his arm. So, and that again would have been penalty and red card for him because he'd already been booked by that point.
Right.
And the prison sentence.
Old JG's son was getting away with quite a lot. The tweet was 76 minutes, Joe Rodon's shirt is pulled, hit in the face, and O'Neill handles the ball in the area. Players waved on, 0-0. It's quite strong from the old official account, which made me think probably was a penalty.
I did feel like the linesman in front of the East Stand was guessing for the majority of the game as well.
Agree.
He loved explaining that to Farke as well.
Oh, really?
Oh, he had it. Yeah, I mean, Farke's talking about his letters of apology. He was after the penalty wasn't given and the linesman ventured back towards the technical areas. It was one of our backroom staff was right up with him, and then Farke came and had a go as well. And then when
I was meaning the one on the other side. In front of the East Stand is the one I was complaining about.
Oh, I mean, they were all rubbish.
It was a fairly hopeless performance.
And then
when
3 minutes went up on the board as well, Farke does a nice thing when he's talking to the officials, because he was, lambasting the fourth official. And he kind of turns away and he goes back and he's like, okay, I'm calmer now. However, and then launches into them again. So
the elephant in the room here is VAR, isn't it? And
I don't want it.
I was going to say that VAR would have picked up on at least one, if not two of them. I still don't want it back. No, I'd rather the mistakes happened and you just sort of suck them up, which is what we have to do.
I'd rather Tim Robinson just gave a penalty. When
just did your job properly.
Big handball offence.
Or did the right thing and now retires.
Yeah, just don't referee any more matches. He's given it a good go. He's probably done his best, and I respect that. People who try. It's obviously a very difficult job, but it's not for everybody.
Even just the counting up of times clearly a difficult business for him. So
why is it the incompetent ones that seem to go for it then? People are just not very good at stuff.
It's really, really difficult, his refereeing.
I get that it is, but equally, a man punching a ball. The one thing you've got to see is where the ball goes. And are there any offences in front of you? It's right there. And yeah, you can only have one pair of eyes in your head. You might get distracted. You might be looking at a little bit of pushing or something like that. You don't know. But still, mate.
The video of it is bad.
Yeah.
It does not reflect well on him. I don't see how he's going to...
Is that the worst video you've ever seen on the internet?
Yes, it is, definitely. I don't see how he's going to sit in front of a panel, though, when they go, we're going to review your game, explain why this was not given. And he'll probably go, phases of play or something. And that's what refs normally... That's not a normal get out from refs.
Even the timekeeping is, it's a minor thing in the scheme of things, and maybe we wouldn't have scored if we played for 200 minutes. But the season started with a big clampdown on time wasting. It's been fairly well established. There is nothing unusual about seeing a board go up with +7, +8, 9, whatever. It's almost more unusual to see a board go up with +3. There would have been, and it's almost, you wonder sometimes what, a referee, you don't want referees to be homers and to be influenced by the crowd, but sometimes you just think, why don't you just have an easy life? Give Leeds the penalty. It'll be great. There's 37,000 people want you to do it. It looks like it probably is a penalty. Give it. And then at the end, instead of, if you give 3 minutes of stoppage time, you're going to have Daniel Farke yelling at you. There's clearly been more than that. There has, because there's been at least, there were 4 Leeds subs. There were 2 or 3 Sunderland ones. All that already. So just give more. Nobody's going to have a go at you if you give 6 minutes of stoppage time, because that is now normal. If you come out with 3, everybody's going to have a go at you. And why do you want that? Maybe that's what he wants. Maybe that's just what he likes.
3 did feel very like 2003, didn't it? That kind of
1 at the end of the first half I thought was pushing it. I thought, that's novel, and there weren't really many stoppages, but you'd give 2 just for sport.
The end of the first half actually summed up the game quite nicely, because Bamford, very near the end, went round the goalkeeper and then hit a cross so hard no one could have ever got to it. He looked like he was going to score at one point, and I just fucked it, which was in some ways not surprising. And then I think we had another chance to attack, but instead we just passed it around midfield until the time ran out, and everyone was just like, for fuck. I think that's why there was a bit of booing actually going into half time, because it was clear there was a time to put the ball forward one more time, but we just didn't.
But there is sort of a principle within football as well, as you don't concede possession and leave yourself open to the risk of conceding one just going into half-time.
But there wasn't time for them to...
Yeah, but they don't know that on the field, do they? It's always just a best guess. We know because we've got the stadium clock there, but...
Well, they have it too.
I know, but they're playing a game of football at a professional level.
Yeah, they can see a clock.
I think someone should look at the clock.
Well, in terms of looking at stuff, Lewis is just saying in the comments as well that Rodon's head was between the ref and O'Neill's hand, but the lino should have seen it. Yeah, absolutely. There's three of you. And a fourth official as well. Fourth officials get involved with stuff, don't they?
Yeah, but both linesmen spent most of the game waiting for the ref to make a decision so they could agree with him. So when they were asked to do something proactive, I think they might have struggled with it because Robinson is a tyrant, and if anyone tells him what to do,
a monster.
Oh, the stuff he's done to people in those dressing rooms. Oh, he's a bar of soap in a towel, giving them all a good beating.
Right. I presume he moves on from the bar of soap to pool balls.
Yeah. Well, there's not many of them in dressing rooms. So
he brings them. He brings them.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Does he? Right, in the socks.
Yeah.
In a football sock, it can be deadly.
Yeah.
It can be deadly.
Especially if it stretches. Anyway, look.
Did you like seeing Jack Clark?
No. Fine, whatever. He was dangerous, wasn't he? He probably did.
He was for a little bit.
He did have Archie Gray on toast on that one occasion where he did that little Cruyff turn.
Yeah, although Archie, I'd say it was about a draw between them. Archie did well a few times against him as well, didn't he? And
Melier,
Clark had a shot, didn't he? It was a tight angle.
Yeah, wasn't a good shot. Did you see when he tried to charge down Melier?
I didn't know.
It was quite early on in the game. He was clearing it and he got dead close to him, and then Melier I thought was about to knock him out, and he was like, "Oh, you
scamp,
Jack, what you doing?" So that was quite nice.
He looked like he had a reasonable chance with the header as well, but the cross was
that was a huge chance.
The cross was quite. It was a bit hard and high, maybe.
He threw himself at it.
He's not. I don't know. I don't imagine Jack Clark is your man for a towering header at the far post.
Lee Chapman scores it, but Jack Clark doesn't.
I was thinking the big chance. You don't get diving headers anymore, do you? Like proper, really low diving headers like Chapman used to do.
Take you back to Tyler Roberts against Hull, if you like.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Years ago, Moscow. Right. What I was
still fresh in my mind.
Bring him back. That's what you're saying.
What I was going to say, just to wrap things up, is that we roll on to Saturday, as Leicester proved tonight by losing at Millwall. People are wobbling.
Yeah, and as Ipswich will prove tomorrow night by losing to Watford.
I mean, if that happens, it's been a really good...
Yeah, to gain a point on both.
It's been a really good round of midweek fixtures, but it still feels awful. Yeah. I mean, for months, it felt like none of the top three ever lost. Well, top four, Southampton didn't either. Just looking at the form, like Leicester have now lost 2, drawn 1 in the last 5. We've lost 1, drawn 2. Ipswich have lost 2. Like people are dropping points absolutely everywhere. All of a
Everyone's
sudden.
shitting it.
Everyone is shitting
it. The closer it gets, the harder it gets. I think that's why what I was sort of coming in on at the start of this is saying that we've got a lot of young men who are under pressure here, trying to deliver something for a very expectant, demanding crowd.
And like Norwich are in really maybe the form team in the division at the moment. They're 2 up against Sheffield Wednesday and end up drawing 2-2. Stupid.
Did they?
Yeah, it's a stupid division.
What did they do that for?
Don't know.
We can't pass 100 points now, by the way.
Oh well, that's
Stupid
fine.
division.
I just want enough points.
Yeah, yes.
That's all I care about. Yeah, they were 2 up at 78 minutes, drew 2-2.
Right.
We're Norwich.
I mean, we're all worrying about how many wins we'll get through the rest of the season. What if us, Leicester and Ipswich, just lose every game between now and the end of the season?
We'd go up, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be fine, wouldn't it? But that'd be interesting.
We wouldn't, actually, because Southampton might overtake everyone if we all lose every game.
Southampton lose every game as well.
They can't.
They lose every game too.
They can't because they're playing each other, aren't they?
No, well, they'll be away.
Okay.
I'm not letting that get in the way.
Okay. So, yeah, we roll on to Saturday, which we'll preview with Phil in a couple of days' time. Once the dust has settled, and as Emma said, what I wouldn't give for a convincing no-stress win on Saturday, we need an early goal. Get an early goal, settle the crowd, build on it.
It did feel like earlier in the season, we were getting frustrated because we were missing early chances. But that just didn't happen today. I think I wrote... My first note of the game, in fact, was on 12 minutes. I said, all us but no chances, bit pedestrian. And that was really how the rest of the game...
My dad called it earlier.
Panned out as well.
Called it early, sorry. He said 0-0. Yeah, he said he's got 0-0 written all over this one.
See, I did expect a goal from someone. But...
Are we saying on Saturday to go first 15 minutes 2-0-8? Because we can change back later if it's not working.
True.
Yeah. There was actually one of the comments further back said we should go hell for leather for the first 20 minutes and try and get teams beaten.
And Wilco way.
Yeah, and now we are into the business end of the season when Farke told us we could look at the table. Maybe, just maybe, we should give that a whirl and see how it pans out.
I mean, we are second.
I mean, we've not put it on the screen yet, have you?
We're second. Don't bother putting it on the table, Dan.
I'm not going to do that.
Don't do it.
It's not official. I've not seen it. I don't know where to look. I don't know how to find it. What even is it? Do
You'll
I have to request it?
You'll
Will
have to wait
somebody?
for tomorrow's newspapers.
Will it get posted to me?
Yeah, I've been in the papers tomorrow, as Michael says.
Okay, I'll look out for that.
And then you can do your league ladders. You can sort them out at home.
yeah, that's useful.
Well, I suppose, yeah, I could maybe, if I look at the results, I could work it out. But
League
I'm
ladders
going to find the results.
It'd be a nightmare these days, wouldn't it, with all the different kickoff times and stuff? It's like a full-time job trying to adjust them.
Listen,
I am quite pleased because I'm annoyed at Sky moving all of our games around. I am quite pleased that while they were not showing Real Madrid 3, Man City 3, they were instead serving people that load of shit.
Was that the final score?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
And Arsenal-Bayern was a right storming game, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that was 2-2. So if anyone was thinking of flicking between the games this evening or have not got TNT, just watching that fucking chanceless dross, just being like, why am I not paying the extra?
They had the roof closed at the Bernabeu, didn't they, today?
Well, that's hugely
Like
exciting.
playing
isn't
in a big sports hall.
it was very windy. I will say that today.
We should have closed the roof.
Should have done.
Freezing.
That is actually one point I've written down.
Put some polythene over it.
Conditions. The conditions didn't help sometimes when we ended up lofting those balls. Do you see that? Like the ball kept like hanging and then they drop it in. That was a bit weird.
No, we don't win headers anyway.
Right, it's not bother. We're just giving those a miss. Right,
There was
okay.
a good bit when second half, Roden ordered Gruffalo into midfield as they cleared, and then Gruev was like back into him. Roden ended up having to clear out both the Sunderland player and Gruev to win the header. It's like, what's the point in even telling him? I know you're about to press the button. What was Bellingham's problem with the Gruffalo at the end of the first half? What was that about? Started on him for no reason.
Oh, well.
But he was angry because he couldn't watch his brother on TNT.
Maybe it'll all come out in the wash one day. Who knows? Right. We'll wrap it up there. Back with the weekly show in a day or two. Phil's here before the weekend. We'll preview Blackburn, and we'll be back with a match ball after Blackburn. When is that? Where we are going top? We could actually, couldn't we? Because we play early on Saturday. We'll go top on Saturday if we win.
And stay there.
Let's do it.
The match ball.